Hi, friends. Welcome again to another episode of Beyond the Clouds, Edge to Edge Transformation. And as we've said before, this transformation is happening on multiple dimensions. It's happening on technology, it's also happening in people, it's happening in terms of who participates and how they participate in this transformation, both as creators as well as users of this technology. And some of us do both. Here with us today is a very interesting person I met a couple of years ago, Ria Cheruvu. She was actually speaking with the CEO of Intel, Pat Gelsinger, about the innovation that's happening at Intel. Very interesting person with a lot of different perspectives. Ria, tell us about you. How did you become the person we know today?
Thank you, Shankar. Super excited to be here. And yeah, a little bit about me. So I have a master's degree in data science from Harvard University and a bachelor's degree in CS from Harvard as well. I was Intel's youngest employee to join at 14, which was an amazing opportunity. I kind of entered into the AI space with Intel and have been here for like 5 to 6 years, working on different projects and different teams around AI accelerators and AI software and products. Intel has been an instrumental part of my career as part of my growth in the industry, learning new topics and fields. Also, my parents, my family, instructors, and the overall community has brought me to where I am today. So super excited to talk about AI and a little bit about the journey behind it.
And the second time I met you was you were running around 5 to 6 different booths, getting all those partners up and running on how to do AI, how to use AI at the PC level, image streaming, image conversions, all kinds of things. How do you manage to do that, work with so many companies inside and outside of Intel?
There's a lot of different opportunities to support external partners. It's actually a skill that I'm actively ramping up onto, which is such a unique part of the AI industry as well. As part of Intel Innovation, I was walking around learning and engaging with the different partners because there's so many different innovative ideas out there in spaces as well, whether those that we're directly working and partnering with or even other teams at Intel that are spearheading those initiatives, from thin neural wires or interfaces that you can implant in your brain for neurodegenerative diseases to explainable AI products and solutions, and the way that those pipelines are constructed for responsible AI. So for me, it's a very big learning experience. I feel like I'm just at the beginning of that journey. Definitely, I would say that I've been relying on my Intel colleagues around the types of efforts, partnerships, and also conversations that they've been driving to better understand what's going on in the landscape, what are the different perspectives and things like that.
One of the things that you've done without maybe even intentionally doing it is you've broken all these stereotypes. Oh, girls, they are not wired for mathematics. That was literally a statement by a Google scientist at one point. So I'm so glad you're breaking these stereotypes. Was your upbringing different from others? How did you end up being this super geek that you're like the youngest employee at Intel?
Oh, thank you. Definitely, in terms of upbringing, I would say that there isn't a difference at all. From my humble understanding, and something that my mother always instilled in me was curiosity and mindset. And I think with the mindset, like we have a motto in our family, mindset is everything. One of the key elements that I am learning, that I have learned from my mother, is confidence, which is being able to understand that you are right now where you are because of a lot of different things, because of your personal efforts, because of the efforts of the community around you. It takes a village to make one person successful. That is one of the things that's really driving me. I completely get what you mentioned as well. I think when it comes to women in STEM, I've engaged with so many different women colleagues, senior mentors, junior colleagues as well, and the empowerment as part of the technical women community in STEM and other different types of communities has been so strong for me. So personally, my female mentors, whether it be my mom, my amazing mentors at Intel that are spearheading a lot of great efforts, or throughout the industry, connections and colleagues that are there for you, that has truly taught me the value of community, and also being humble, being grateful, and also what success really means. Those are the values that have brought me here today that I want to continue to incorporate and learn more about as part of my journey.
That's awesome. You are being a role model for a lot of people. And
Thank
speaking
you.
of confidence, very few people are confident about the future when they look at AI, machine learning, Gen AI, transforming everything around us. Even the background I have was created using DALL-E. I took a picture of
Awesome.
my neighborhood in the background and I said, DALL-E, make a painting out of it. So every day there's something AI has changed, whether it's summarizing a document. This talk will be summarized using AI, even listening, conversational AI, everything is shifting. That is causing tremendous anxiety for people who are starting off, people in mid-career. What
Yeah.
words of wisdom do you have? How can people understand and how can we form an interface with these kinds of technologies without losing our mind?
It's a wonderful question. My personal views, not reflecting the views of Intel or the industry, are that there are a number of different reasons to be optimistic regarding AI, but there are recognized concerns regarding the use of the technology. We are seeing every day the technology proliferating into new use cases. My optimism comes from the domain of like ethical and responsible AI, which I've been working in for at least 2.5 to 3 years now. And that's really around creating technologies and experiences that are human-centered. So I believe that human-centered initiatives and also nature-centered initiatives are ones that are putting our priorities first in terms of empathy, morality, the right kind of design principles that we want to expect from a technology that's transforming society in the future, and basically ingraining that as part of the design process. That being said, there's a number of things to be done to prevent the things of today. For example, still AI at its highest capabilities today still needs human intervention. It's important for us to be able to mark that and to identify where it's needed, how it can help assist humans and nature, and also privacy concerns, security concerns, and those types of things, ethical and sustainability concerns. How do we target each of those segments? I'm optimistic that a lot of the awesome folks in responsible AI and the AI domain and stakeholders, regulators, organizations, nonprofits, governments will be able to essentially help target these different elements to make a better society and future for us with AI.
How can we make sure that AI is in the service of humans and not the other way around? Humans in the service of AI. How can we make sure that AI is useful to all of us, not just to a few who can manipulate it or use it like a weapon?
Wonderfully phrased. I also love the introduction to the question that you gave, Shankar, in terms of that segment of, again, like the reciprocal nature of it in terms of human with AI or AI with humans, and the accessibility part as well. I have a colleague who very nicely termed it democratization of AI, which is exactly as AI is becoming more and more accessible, which is an amazing thing because you have more eyes that are testing the technology, but more actors that can take advantage of that technology as well. My personal anecdote, I remember during my master's degree, we were playing around with GPT like 2 years before ChatGPT got released, and things were not as extraordinary to the public as they are now. There we were just building news aggregation engines and a lot of the same techniques that are being used today for using GPT models in search. With the creation of these interfaces, the technologies become more accessible and more easy to use. With that note, definitely in terms of the manipulation of AI in the service of humanity and nature in general, I think that's such an interesting point. To put it briefly, there's some things as humans and users that we are doing to make AI's work easier, whether that's prompt engineering or maybe adding lighting to our images so that AI can better categorize it, right? And then there are other things that AI developers are incorporating into AI to make things easier for humans. So things like give me a reference when you give me some resource or generate some code or something like that. So I think that there's a balance between how humans stretch towards the technology and how much AI stretches. But at the end of the day, this entire experience is centered around key priorities that we define. So it is human-centered and nature-centered in the end, in terms of we don't actually have AI models that are expecting too much or that have too many capabilities, but we have these technologies in the right hands, which are determined by different organizations coming together and applying it for the right usage.
Now, you've been playing around with AI forever, looks like,
Yeah.
and especially with GPT. Where do you see the most interesting advances in AI today, and how is it going to change our lives? In what ways can people use it to increase productivity or do creative work?
One of the key elements that I'm super excited about in the AI space is something known as cognitive AI or cognitive computing. It's a term that's now being used in so many different areas, but put very briefly, it's around using AI's capabilities to perform more complex tasks. So one of these domain areas is robotics. Today, we're seeing demonstrations of robots being able to cook eggs and move around furniture, which is super cool. Something we couldn't say we saw like 1 or 2 years ago in as sophisticated of a way. Cognitive computing and that type of domain is talking about algorithms that can be used in the real world. At my time at Intel, I had the opportunity to do a research deep dive as part of a domain called intuitive physics that comes under this umbrella. And that's really the idea of when someone throws a baseball at us without even kind of thinking about it, we can instinctively catch it from the air. So how do we encode that type of intuition into algorithms and then get better and better at cognitive capabilities so that they can support us in a way that makes sense and they can react to different environments? That's what excites me the most, cognitive computing and human-centered AI.
Tell us more about human-centered AI, because so far, when you hear a machine talking to us, they talk like robots. There's no
Yes.
emotions, but something is shifting there too. Can you tell us about the advances in humanizing AI?
One of the things is kind of bringing empathy to conversation. So we recognize with AI chatbots and models in general that these aren't actually real people, but we understand that emotions and empathy both ways is actually something that is incredibly effective to getting to a conclusion. Adding emotion to a prompt actually gets AI to do something more effectively, right? Those elements are like one way of the humanizing approach, essentially, or like getting it closer to human-centered AI. One of the other things that I had the opportunity to explore in a publication as well on human-centered AI is the balance between human involvement and AI's involvement as well. Is it able to account for a mistake that a human or a user might do, or something that might happen negatively that a malicious actor is trying to do, like hacking into a system or trying to bypass something? So I think being able to react to those conditions and be able to have some sort of a policy towards that is one element of human-centered AI. We don't think about it that often, but being able to react to the real world is a really big component of that, whether it's autonomous vehicles at a busy intersection, or it's also a robot that's just trying to figure out whether or not they need to hold someone who's about to fall, an elderly person. That's one of the key steps towards human-centered AI that we don't talk about that much.
As we well know, none of this would have been possible without the hardware stack. 30,
Yes.
40 years ago, when we were learning the theory of AI, the principles were more or less understood, but there was just no hardware to play around with. Where do you see the hardware advances that are needed to take AI to the next level? And I know Intel has done amazing things in this area as well. What are the advances that will be necessary to take it to the next level?
Yeah, again, my personal views, because this is a topic of a lot of enthusiasm for me. And also some things that I've observed that at Intel and the industry at large, acceleration is like an optimizations are a key part of generative AI, large language models, etc. I think the two things that really excite me are one, like the pure hardware stack, which is like the broad variety of devices and architectures that we're able to use for AI. It's so interesting to see that developers have a lot of design choices. And like as a developer, I've seen like there are very specific scenarios that we might craft, whether we're using AI that is super heavy with very large model weights and we want a way to be able to run it quickly, or we have a lightweight AI model that we want to run quickly as well without having to contact the cloud. We want it on the edge. So that diversity of architectures is one part of it. The second part that to me, as someone who has kind of played in the AI software space and been, connected to the computer architecture elements is software optimizations. It is so interesting to see the software stack combined with the hardware stack, whether that's different precisions, optimizing, quantizing these models, making them smaller, shorter to run, running them in the browser. So those are the two very exciting parts for me that I see are the future of hardware optimizations and acceleration for AI that we're both looking at as part of Intel and also the industry at large.
Until recently, you had to have those big machines, whether it was the Deep
Yes.
Blue, to do anything, whether it's playing Jeopardy and all. But today, we are beginning to see compute power in people's hands, in handhelds, whether if it may not be a large language model, it could be a small language model, but at the edge, inferencing is starting, even learning is starting. So what are your views? Are we now already in the era of federated learning?
It's actually pretty wonderful to see that, yes, we are actually seeing the convergence of personal AI computing. I know there's a lot of terms around it as well that are being introduced, but to me, that really is what I see as the primary element, which is personalized AI computing. Whether or not you want AI as part of your system is up to you at the end of the day. I've interacted with, everyone from like educators to regular users to like government officials and different types of folks, both like as part of my career and also personally. And I think some of them are very excited. They want to take advantage of AI. They would like AI to be integrated as part of their laptop or their mobile devices so they can ask it questions, have it clean up things for them, generate things for them, etc. And there are others who are like, can I disable AI capabilities if I don't want them? Which it makes sense. There are different choices and different directions as well. So I think that personalized computing is also reflecting that as well. It's an understanding of what the choices of the user really are and driven by what we want to kind of extract performance in. So I think as part of Intel and the AI PC initiative, that's something that I'm super excited about, as well as the general idea that you can run large language models and ChatGPT related stuff on mobile devices, which is super exciting. Having that choice of control essentially over AI systems and how they're used in our personal and daily lives and professional lives is the exciting part, really.
What about the training part? We've already seen that in cars like Tesla. The training is happening in a federated form. It's not
Right.
just what has been fed early on. The system keeps learning. So do you think that there will be federated learning at the edge? And in what ways can we as users cooperate to make the systems we are using get better over time?
Yes, I am a firm believer in the promise and the delivery of federated learning on smaller to larger scales. And again, this is experience coming from interacting with my colleagues and seeing some of the projects they've done with academic universities or medical institutions and hospitals, where you can distribute data across multiple different edge devices and systems, and then have models that are being distributed this way learn in an efficient manner. This is a crucial part of the next steps of AI, whether that's federated learning, incorporating elements of continual learning, so you're learning on the go. These distributed training mechanisms and distributed validation mechanisms that we also are just beginning to talk about, which is testing the AI systems in these configurations, is absolutely critical going forward as part of how these devices will be split out and used across the Internet of Things, across client, edge, and also the cloud.
We've been hearing forever that neuromorphic computing is coming of age and that quantum computing is coming of age.
Yes.
Are we ready yet? There isn't even enough understanding of how the human brain works, let alone the brains of dolphins or of other animals. Do we have the technology and the understanding to be able to put it into the machines at this point?
It's a great question. My personal excitement is around quantum computing and neuromorphic computing. They're very early research stages. We are seeing developments that happen. I would say that it is still paced in a way where we're seeing deliverables coming in one at a time. Personally, as somebody who's like dabbled a little bit in quantum computing and somebody who is an enthusiast around neuromorphic computing, we may be ready for the advancements and the performance that these technologies have to offer. There are still comparisons that we can draw to our computer systems and architecture that we're using today. For example, for neuromorphic computing and spiking neural networks, I feel like the advancements that we made are allowing us to jump, but we can still make the connections back to traditional systems and identify use cases for business logic and things like that. Going forward, though, as these systems and these research domains become more sophisticated and then get to production in a lot more of a mass scale way, that's when we're going to start to see changes in things, whether that's, again, breaking encryption algorithms and full-on security related concerns, to neuromorphic computing maybe paving the way for AI acceleration or other workload acceleration as well. I do believe they have the way to transform the way that we're currently performing computing, which is an exciting thing to think about.
When the internet became available and gaming became available, parents got concerned that, oh my God, our kids will be always on games. Now there's always the danger that we'll get hooked onto these things, right? It's like an
Yes.
always on culture and the robot waking you up and you waking up the robot and so on. How do you personally take time off to make sure that you're grounded and that you're in the real world, not just in the virtual world? And how can we maintain that balance in our life, that we don't get totally consumed by these technologies?
The consumption of technologies is a very big aspect. I think it's getting more prominent as well. I had the opportunity to look into as part of my master's was bubbles of information and news, where you're only exposed to certain points when you're interacting with an algorithm and not others. One of the things on the technology space that I've seen as a movement and that I love to actively contribute to is recognizing that these things happen. We do become totally immersed in technological landscapes and we do need a breather. So some of those elements in the technology that are being baked in is, for example, exposing users to other viewpoints and then giving them the control, like screen time related like gadgets and widgets where you kind of take a break and things like that. From a personal level, and quoting my mom because she's my work-life balance enforcer, I would say, taking time to get away from systems, from the technology, from the excitement and the frustrations of the development in general is absolutely crucial. I like to do hobbies like swimming and piano and stuff like that. The artistic element, the creative element is definitely something that is absolutely crucial to bring out. And I mentioned my mother because she did her PhD in philosophy and studies related to the idea or the concept of spirituality and what that means in relation to human psychology. And one of the things that she's told me from her domain of expertise is that creativity is one of those assets that is priceless. Yes, you have AI generating art and things like that, but the value add of having something that you can express and deep dive into is pretty amazing. So for those that it appeals to, taking time off for creativity, for those kinds of pursuits is a great way to balance the technological excitement that's happening day to day.
You remind me of my own journey. I was a techno geek, and then I took a year-long course at Stanford where I studied the neuroscience of happiness, the neuroscience of compassion, and even the neuroscience of spirituality. It woke me up. There's more to science than science itself, that we have to
Yes,
experience life. And so
exactly.
thanks for that reminder. You've done most things that people want to do. Are you already hitting a midlife crisis? Where do you see yourself going forward?
I am going full steam ahead. My lifelong passion and mission is to help the world. It's something that I determined with my family, but primarily, as I mentioned, my mom, which was like, what's the mission statement? What's the end goal? I want to and constantly do want to push myself to explore opportunities that make the world a better place, whether that's educational related initiatives, which I have a very strong passion for in terms of teaching, mentoring, getting mentored, learning more concepts and things like that, but also being able to give back to the community and also technologically being able to participate in some of the bigger initiatives around AI. The best thing that kind of helps the world, whether that's humanity, that's nature, that's basically everything around us that brought us to where we are today is the life mission or statement for me. So that's why one of the things that I've been doing recently is this social media challenge with Women Who Codes Days of Code to think about, okay, AI is one aspect of something that is transforming the way that we think about our world and our lives. But what about the other domains like digital twins and blockchain and quantum computing and stuff like that? So this is for me one part of my opportunity to kind of awaken to those different fields, dive deeper than I've gotten into it before, and explore other ways that are changing the way we're living our lives, both technologically and also philosophically, creatively. There's so much to do.
There was a time
Yes.
when blockchain was like way up there, and AR, VR, and metaverse, and now it's the turn for Gen AI. What do you think will happen to all these technologies? They're all precious in their own ways. How will they be able to help us together work towards something more meaningful?
They're all coming under the domain of emerging technologies. The way I see it is keeping in mind that element of control in terms of we have personal decision making or personal responsibility to choose what elements and technologies make our lives better. There's elements like the metaverse where we're able to connect virtually, elements like blockchain for digital currencies or for security, quantum computing for the same aspect, neuromorphic computing for acceleration of workloads, just to name a few. And again, digital twins playing into the concept of the metaverse and creating simulated objects, not only for the consumerism angle, which is a good angle in terms of connecting with folks, gaming and playing around, but also the industrial applications like simulations of manufacturing floors and retail floors or of farms and the different elements there, things that are making it easier for us to prevent accidents, to be able to improve quality of life, and also return on investment for businesses, which is what powers all of the economy kind of moving forward. Each of these technologies has a place to play in the role that they're going to play in getting us to connect and improve quality of life. And that is currently being determined as we speak and go into the future.
I was talking to a good friend who is an executive at VMware, now part of Broadcom, and he was talking about how an entire Audi factory has become a software driven factory. a lot of things can be controlled in a systematic way with redundancy. Do you see that happening in other areas of life where you can intelligently make these systems and factories and even like endeavors to be redundant and have the flexibility so that they don't just turn off or break down? What do you think is the future?
Yes, I definitely think so. I've been diving into digital twins the past week in these contexts just to learn more about how it's done. Having software-driven ecosystems is fantastic. That being said, I am very cautious about the Internet of Things concerns, right? Which comes with software-defined environments, which is software is malleable. It can change, it can break down, so you need to have the right conditions to catch if things go wrong, whether that's a sensor going off and you're not able to kind of detect whether or not the sensor has actually gone offline or things like that. That's why the importance is to have both that hardware environment set up, the firmware, etc., all set, as well as the software elements. Things that make it easier to monitor and prevent accidents, map out the right locations of things, prevent monetary losses if that can be done with digital twins, as we're seeing today. That is definitely a very exciting way to be able to continue into management, orchestration, and like holding these types of factory floors or different environments like retail.
Ria, we could be talking all day long. You have so much energy and so many ideas. We have to bring this to a close. So all I want to say is this is amazing to see you continuing to blossom, continuing to learn. And to people out there, this is the reason I talk to many people, to get a 360-degree view of what's happening and how we can together co-create a meaningful future. Yes, we can't let the robots run our life, but we have a responsibility to make sure that all these things that are being developed are done in a way that can be harmonious and can be useful. And Ria, may you continue to do the things you're doing. I have myself become a large language model, so let me try to say hello in Telugu. Namaskaru.
Thank you so much, Shankar. The harmonious statement was beautifully phrased, and it was wonderful to have this conversation. Time just flew by. Thank you so much for the kind compliments, and yes, excited to meet in person in the near future.